Right guys, what we're going to look at today is how to do the graphic calculation questions. In computing, you've got to be able to be given the size of a graphic, the bit depth of the graphic, and then you've got to get the storage capacity for that one graphic. Now here's our rules for doing it. The first thing that you do is you calculate the number of pixels in the graphic in total. Now, dead simple, this is an area question. Area equals breadth times length or length times breadth. When you've got the total number of pixels, you then want to get the number of bits that the graphic takes. So to get that, you multiply the number of pixels times the bit depth. When I've got the total number of bits, that's me. All I need to do then is convert it into appropriate units. Bits, bytes, kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, etc. So to do that, to go from bits to bytes, we divide by 8. To go from bytes to kilobytes, we divide by 1024. Now we keep going until we've got a number that's greater than 0 and a number that's less than 1024. That's when we stop, and we make sure that we put the appropriate units beside it. Now what I should have said at the beginning is you should have a calculator in the exam with you. You should take a calculator in with you so that you can do these questions. Right, so here's my first example. What we're going to do is we're going to take a black and white graphic, and that graphic has 1200 pixels across by 1800 pixels down. Now there are two different types of graphic questions that you can get, graphic calculation questions. One is when they give you the number of pixels, and that's generally worth 2 or 3 marks. And the second one where you have to calculate the number of pixels, and that's worth 3 or 4 marks, just depending on the complexity of it. So, we've got a black and white image. It's 1200 by 1800 pixels. Now the first thing to note is that it's a black and white image, and that means that the bit depth is 1. And like I was just saying there, we know the number of pixels in total going across, we know the total number of pixels going down, so we don't have to do any calculations to get that. So let's get back to step 1. So step 1 said, calculate the pixels. Area equals length times breadth. So what I need to do there is multiply my 1200 by my 1800. When I multiply them together, I'm going to get 216,000. So that's me get the total number of pixels in my graphic. Step 2 is calculate the bits. To calculate the bits, I multiply those total number of pixels, that 216,000, by the bit depth. Now this one's nice and easy because the bit depth is 1. Remember, I know the bit depth is 1 because it was a black and white image. So multiply that, and funnily enough, your answer is going to be 216,000 bits. I've got my bits, now I need to convert into appropriate units. So, step 3, get my bytes. There are 8 bits in a byte, so we divide by 8. When we divide 216,000 by 8, our answer is 170,000. So we've got 170,000 bytes. That number is greater than 1024. So I'm going to divide by 1024 to get kilobytes. That's step 3, convert to kilobytes. So 170,000 divided by 1024 gives me 166.03 kilobytes. Now I would stop at this point because that number is greater than 0 and less than 1024. So that there is the answer. Now if I move on, this is how you would write it out. So all I've done is taken what we did there at each step, and that there is how I get my 3 marks. Okay, this one would be worth 3 marks in the exam. Now what I've got on the next slide for you is 2 examples. And in those 2 examples, there are the 2 answers. So what you can do is you can pause the video here, you can work those out, make sure you've got the answers. If you don't get the right answers, please speak to your teacher. So let's move on to the next kind of graphic question. An image is 4 inches by 6 inches and it has a 300 dpi. It has a bit depth of 4. Now notice what we don't have is the total number of pixels. We need to calculate them. I've got 4 inches, 6 inches, and each of those inches is 300. Now this is where people make mistakes. Okay, this is a common one. So, sorry, I jumped way ahead of myself. I do apologise. So here we go. To calculate the total number of pixels. To get the length pixels, we multiply 6 by 300 and we get 1800. To get the breadth pixels, we multiply 4 by 300 and we get 1200. We then multiply these two numbers together and we get 216,0000. That is the same answer as example 1. Just pointing that out here. I noticed that. I didn't go and change it. It is a complete fluke. Now, the common mistake that people make at step 1 is they remember to multiply the 4, the 6 and one of the 300s. They forget that you've got to get the length in pixels, which is 6 times 300, and then you've got to get the breadth, which is 4 times 300. You must multiply that 300 twice. Please watch that. Now, we've got the total number of pixels. This is exactly the same as example 1. Get the bit depth. It told me the bit depth was 4, so all I need to do is multiply the number of pixels by 4. And we end up with 864,0000 bits. I need to now convert that into bytes. To convert it into bytes, divide by 8. Now that number is a lot bigger than 1024, so I now need to divide by 1024 to convert it into kilobytes. And again, that number is still bigger than 1024, so I want to divide that by 1024 and get the megabits. And that there is how we do that question. It's only the first bit that's different. Again, here I've got 2 questions for you to work on your own. I've given you some quite big numbers because I don't want you to be frightened of big numbers. Notice the second one, the DPI is 1200, the bit depth is 16. So I'm giving you bigger numbers to be working with, but like I said, I don't want you to be frightened of these bigger numbers. Work through the questions. If you don't get the right answers, please ask your teacher for help. Thank you.